D&D is a fun game. Dungeons& Dragons is probably my favorite pastime. I've been playing for about a year and that ish slaps. Granted, my journey did not start great. I started playing at about the halfway point of my senior year of high school. I was a band kid, to be specific. I played clarinet. It was a Friday and we had a basketball game that night, so the percussion section was going to lunch together. Keep in mind, I barely knew most of these people and I had never gone to lunch with them. But on this particular day, they decided to invite me to go along, which, since I didn't have my own car at the time and I was sick of eating the same thing every day, I went. We crammed a bunch of kids into a van and headed to get pizza. There was this one kid in percussion I just could not stand. Let's call him 8. 8 had the attention span of a frickin' gnat. He was fairly disruptive during band, as in he was never at a spot when he needed to be. He was also a freshman, so I automatically dismissed him. It's kind of sad that I was so rude to him, but whatever. He sat across from me at the pizza place, and I did what I normally did. Talked to everyone except him and ignored him when he tried to talk to me. Then he said those magic words. I'm thinking of starting a game of Dungeons and Dragons. He had my attention immediately. I acted as though I wasn't the absolute worst to him and jumped into the conversation. He'd be the dungeon master, and he wasn't 100% certain who else would be in the game. But I was just desperate to join, so I took the plunge. I grew up in a super religious family, so convincing my parents to let me go was like pulling teeth, especially since all the other players were dudes. I know, scandalous. One of the other two guys I had a history with. He got nacho cheese on my band gloves and stained them, and he never apologized. Let's call this guy Trombone. The other dude I had never really met before. Let's call him Problem. You can already see where this is going. The very first session, I learned how to properly fill out my character sheet. My character was a tabaxi bard known as Summer Afternoon. We already knew that Problem wasn't going to show up, so we just expected Trombone. Trombone arrives, but he was 2 hours late. So for 2 hours, it was just me and 8 awkwardly hanging out, even though we had rarely spoken previously. So we had a rocky start. It's to be expected. Most campaigns have a rocky start. Well, then Problem showed up. He was too lazy to even make his own character, so 8 had a previously made character and gave it to him. A wizard who was incredibly smart. That was a mistake. Trombone, for those wondering, made a human fighter based off of a character named Ninja Brian. He didn't even hide it either, he was just Ninja Brian. So in short, I was the only one who put more than 5 seconds of thought into my character. Problem was an interesting guy. He would argue with everyone at the table. He would kill an NPC for funsies. And the worst part? Have you ever put 3 teenage boys in one room? It was awful. It got to the point where I just wasn't having fun anymore. Half of the sessions were just the boys quoting memes at each other. And when we did eventually progress, Problem was always on his phone. I eventually just got fed up. I gave 8 an ultimatum. Either I'd leave or Problem would leave. I'd invite my best friend to play as a replacement, but I couldn't keep playing with Problem. Here's the thing about 8. He's a sensitive guy. He didn't want to hurt Problem's feelings. He knew I was right, but hated confrontation. So I went to Trombone and asked for his opinion. He agreed with me. Problem needed to go. It was for the best of the group. I went back to 8 and put my foot down. He finally asked Problem to leave, and yeah, I haven't seen the guy since. I invited my best friend, and things have been smooth sailing ever since. I'm glad I stuck with the group and the game. It got a lot better.